Hey everyone, welcome back to Digital Art with Kenzie. Today we're going to be diving into one of the most iconic and enduring superheroes in comic book history, Batman. From the 1980s all the way to modern times, Batman has undergone numerous reinventions, reboots, and transformations, making him an ever-relevant cultural phenomenon. We're going to be focusing on the evolution of Batman from the 1980s until today, since that was the time he was most popular, and how he went from being a brooding vigilante in the shadows to the globally recognized hero that we all know today. Let's take this thrilling ride through the history of The Dark Knight. In the 1980s, Batman went through a massive transformation. While the 1960s Batman TV show brought the character into the mainstream with campy and lighthearted antics, by the 1980s, fans wanted something darker, grittier, and more mature. This decade brought Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, which premiered in 1986, revolutionizing Batman's persona. This 4-issue miniseries presented an older, grizzled Batman who comes out of retirement to restore order in a crime-ridden Gotham. Miller's version of Batman was a more brutal and morally ambiguous figure, was a game changer. It completely changed the way the reader saw The Dark Knight. Little fun fact for you, in The Dark Knight Returns, Batman's suit was updated to be more tactical and intimidating, with a more armored look that became a staple in many of his subsequent designs in movies and comics. Right on the heels of The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller teamed up with artist David Mazzucchelli for another groundbreaking Batman comic, Batman Year One, which premiered in 1987. This comic gave us a modernized retelling of Batman's origin, focusing on his early days as a rookie crime fighter struggling to find his place in Gotham. This gritty portrayal of Batman showed his imperfect start, a far cry from the perfect superheroes we see in a lot of stories. It also showcased Gotham's grim atmosphere, laying the groundwork for the tone of Batman stories in the years to come. Fun fact, in Year One, the character of James Gordon was given more importance and depth, transforming him into a vital part of the Gotham mythos. He wasn't just a police commissioner, he became one of Batman's closest allies. The 1990s were a transformative decade for Batman, as his popularity skyrocketed, both in comics and outside the comic book world. In the world of comics, Batman became darker, more brutal, and even more morally complex, reflecting the cultural shifts of time. In 1992, Batman, the animated series, also known as BTAS, hit the small screen, introducing a new generation to Batman. This series blended the dark, gothic elements of Batman with a stylized art direction, setting a new standard for animated television. The animated series brought Tim Burton's cinematic version to life with its stunning animation, unforgettable score by Danny Elfman, and one of the best voice casts in animation, Kevin Conroy as Batman, otherwise known as Bruce Wayne, and Mark Hamill as the Joker. This series, often hailed as a definitive version of Batman, providing a sophisticated yet accessible take on the character. Fun fact, Kevin Conroy, who voiced Batman in BTAS for over 2 decades, is often regarded as the definitive choice of Batman. In fact, fans were so attached to his portrayal that many were overjoyed when Conroy appeared at the Arrowverse's Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover in 2019. The 1990s were also marked by some monumental events in comic book history, one of the most notable being the death of Superman from 1992, which had a lasting impact on the superhero genre. This era marked the rise of anti-heroes and darker storylines, and Batman was no exception to this. In the infamous storyline The Killing Joke from 1988 by Alan Moore, Batman's moral code and his relationship with the Joker were explored in disturbing detail. The Killing Joke remains one of the most controversial Batman stories, showcasing a more psychologically complex and darker portrayal of Batman and his arch-nemesis, the Joker. The Killing Joke is infamous for its dark things, including the shooting of Barbara Gordon, also known as Batgirl, by the Joker, which leaves her paralyzed. This story remains a staple in discussions about Batman's role in the moral complexity of Gotham. The 2000s brought about a reboot in Batman's cinematic portrayal, as well as the emergence of new ambitious storylines in the comics. In 2005, Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins reinvigorated the character for a new generation. The film explored Batman's origin in depth, focusing on his psychological transformation from Bruce Wayne to Batman, and set the tone for the next trilogy. Nolan's interpretation brought realism and psychological depth to the character. Christian Bale's portrayal of Batman was grounded, and Gotham became a gritty city that mirrored the social and political struggles of the real world. This more realistic take on Batman was a perfect fit for the post-9/11 world. Fun fact, Nolan's The Dark Knight from 2008, the second film in his trilogy, features what many consider the best Joker performance ever by Heath Ledger, who tragically passed away shortly before the film's release. Ledger's portrayal earned him a posthumous Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. In the comics, Grant Morrison's run in the mid-2000s brought new life to the character. His story arc in Batman and Son from 2006 introduced Damian Wade, Bruce Wayne's biological son, from Talia al Ghul, and a member of the League of Assassins. The Batman comics of this period also embraced a more expansive mythology, bringing back older characters and exploring new ones like the Bat family, including Batgirl, Nightwing, and Robin. Batman's moral code was put to the test time and time again, especially in stories like Hush from 2002, which introduced an intricate mystery and included cameos from nearly every major Batman villain. The 2010s were a pivotal decade for Batman in both comics and film, with even more darker and complex storylines, as well as some cinematic challenges. Christopher Nolan's trilogy concluded The Dark Knight Rises in 2012. In this epic conclusion, Batman faces off against Bane, a villain whose devastating actions push Gotham to its limits. The movie dealt with themes of redemption and resilience, and it perfectly wrapped up Nolan's version of The Dark Knight. In 2016, Zack Snyder's Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice reintroduced Batman on the big screen. This portrayal of the Dark Knight, played by Ben Affleck, was far older and more brutal than previous iterations. The film divided fans, with some praising the darker, grittier Batman, while others criticized his more violent nature. In Batman vs. Superman, Batman uses a tactical suit with more advanced armor and gadgets to battle Superman, showcasing a more militarized version of the character. The suit itself became an instant fan favorite for its iconic look. In 2016, DC Comics launched Rebirth, a publishing initiative that reshaped many of its flagship characters. Batman's story was updated, making him more accessible to new readers while keeping his core principles intact. Under writer Tom King, Batman faced new challenges, including a relationship with Selina Kyle, also known as Catwoman. The Batman from 2022 from Matt Reeves introduced a grittier, detective-focused version of the character, played by Robert Pattinson. Set in Batman's second year of crime fighting, this iteration is more of a detective and less of a full-blown action hero. This movie was praised for its focus on Batman's detective skills and his investigative journey as he hunts down a killer targeting Gotham's elite. Fun fact, the Batman film was heavily inspired by film noir and detective stories from the 1930s and 1940s, giving it a unique, stylistic approach to the genre. Batman is much more than just a superhero. He's a symbol of justice, resilience, and the endless fight against the darkness that plagues Gotham. Over the decades, Batman has become a global cultural icon, adapting to reflect the world around him, yet remaining true to his core identity. Whether you prefer the classic detective stories, the gritty realism of Nolan's trilogy, or the emotional depth of the comic runs, Batman's legacy is undeniable. His journey from the shadows to the forefront of pop culture shows that there's always room for one more story in the Batcave. So, what's your favorite Batman moment? Do you prefer the dark, brooding detective or the action-packed vigilante? Let me know in the comments. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more art content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.